Star Trek Lower Decks Review, Season 4, Episode 9. The penultimate
So
episode of the
who had bad
season.
guy? So who had it being some random dude on their bingo card?
He's he's random but not random.
He's actually played by the same guy who played Tom Paris.
Yeah, it's funny because he actually first shows up, like the actor who
In
plays
Next Gen.
in Next
Yeah.
Gen, like the thing they were describing, the cadet that got one of his classmates killed by doing an illegal or a banned maneuver. Yeah, that was actually a thing. That was an entire like episode about that. And
Yeah.
Crusher
And
was involved, and it was a whole big thing of integrity and this and telling the
and
truth.
in the Picard song that a Starfleet officer's first responsibility is the truth, the actual truth.
Yeah.
That was from that
Whether it be
episode.
scientific truth or personal truth,
Yeah. That's
historical truth or
from that
scientific
episode.
truth, personal truth. And if you can't do this, you don't deserve to wear that uniform. It's becoming a
That was from the episode
yeah,
because
and
Crusher and a group of cadets tried to do an illegal maneuver, and it was illegal because it was deadly, because their ships had to come super close, within millimeters of each other, and they set off their plasma, and the plasma ignited and killed one of the guys. And so they made up a story of, oh, he just pulled out at the wrong time or whatever, and because they didn't want to get busted for doing an illegal maneuver. But eventually Crusher was guilt tripped into admitting it. But before he got a chance to admit it, Locarno, this guy played by the same guy who plays Tom Paris, Robert Duncan McNeil, he went and said, yeah, it was all me. They were just doing as I said because I was the, captain of the group. So it's all on me. Don't bust my guys. And so the rest of them got off with a warning and got bumped down a grade, and got held back, and Locarno got booted from Starfleet.
yeah.
And fun fact, they were going to use him as the template for Tom Paris, which is why the characters are so similar and played by the same guy. But I don't remember what went wrong, but that's why
I
they
think
decided
I'd
to change
heard it was
things.
something about like writing credits. Like if they use
Yeah, I think it
Locarno,
was something
they'd
like
have to
that. I think
credit that writer on everything.
every episode, yeah, I think he would get royalties on every episode, just like Terry Nation and the Daleks. Like,
Yeah, he'd get like it was something like that, and they were like, okay, well
some sort of
we'll make the
royalties or something.
exact
So
same character. We'll just
same
call him.
actor, same everything, but you know
We'll
what? We'll just change the name.
yeah. Technically he's a new character. It's Tom Paris. He's not Locarno. He doesn't have
Yeah,
Locarno's past.
it's not Nick Locarno. It's Tom Paris. There are slight differences. His dad's an admiral in this, not a, you know.
Yeah.
So just to get away with that shit.
I don't know. It's like I wanted it to be evil Boimler, and I'm using evil in quotation marks.
Oh, you mean the Boimler clone?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
like this just came random.
That just jumped out of nowhere, bro.
It's interesting to see that there's actually now a canon, going on from Locarno's
Yeah,
story instead of it just
and
being wink, wink,
and
nudge,
their
nudge, Tom
buddies,
Paris.
and their buddies.
Yeah, which is sort of the theme of the episode for Mariner is she's dealing with some real deep stuff right now in terms of like, okay, well, I wanted to find all these, I wanted to do all this stuff, but like my best friend who is like, this sort of survivor's guilt to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but it's that sort of thing, and the fact that she knew like Nick Locarno, like that's an interesting bit of her timeline to kind of figure out like where she like her career, to figure out how long she's been in Starfleet, because to know him, she probably met him at the academy. I don't did we never, I don't think we ever got he wasn't in there long enough for her to say how she knew him, but
Yeah.
odds are he probably ended up in the he probably ended up meeting her at the academy, which is probably something like
It. Yeah.
it's at most there's 4 years between them. Like I don't
Mhm.
remember exactly what year Locarno was in. Was he like, given he was the captain of that squad, probably one of the senior cadets. So given I think Starfleet Academy is a 4 year thing, like I think it's always seemingly like, or I'm just assuming things because I'm like, okay, well it's like a, you know, it's like a West Point or something where you get a
Mhm.
degree and then you go and you do your service, but you jump in at officer, you know. So I assume it's 4 years. So it's probably like 4 years max between them. So that kind of gives you a timeline. So she was in Starfleet Academy. Like it makes sense for their timeline. She was in Starfleet Academy during TNG, and a few years later, after that incident, it wasn't terribly long. We got the Dominion War, and well, they Starfleet took back, or not took back, but took over DS9 as with partnering with the Bajorans. So that's when the earliest she could have been at DS9, because we know she was at DS9 because she knows people at DS9, and so and we know she fought in the Dominion War because she tells us she fought in the Dominion War in this episode. It's like she might have mentioned it earlier, but she definitely like reiterated, no, it was a massacre. It was awful. So
Yeah.
she was at least stationed or regularly visited DS9. She may have been stationed on a ship and then but came back to DS9 because that was the resupply point, and sort of
Yeah.
that's where you got rotated back to. So she was during TNG. She was in the academy. During DS9, she was at DS9. At least a lot, enough that she got to know people at DS9. She got
Well,
enough
I
to,
mean, she already knew, she knew Quark and them before that. We've established that from other
yeah,
episodes.
that one, yeah, they've established that with other episodes. So she's Academy and TNG, DS9 is that. Uh, so this is in we know what we know already. This was like a few years after the Dominion War, I think, and
It's
so
it's like I think it was 3 years after Voyager returned home.
yeah,
I
so
think they said.
and I think Voyager and the Dominion War overlapped a bit.
Quite a bit
Yeah,
because the Maquis were all slaughtered and stuff, and
yeah.
that found out in like season 5 of
Well, yeah, it was
Voyager,
before.
and
Yeah, it was before they left before the Dominion War, but not terribly. But DS9 had been going for at least a year or two, I think, before
I,
they they
yeah, it
they
was
took
like
off.
2 years, I think.
3 years. Okay, if they was 3 years
Yeah,
into DS9, that's
hold
almost the
on.
midpoint.
Yeah, I can look that up
Yeah.
easy.
Let's just, I'll start talking with assuming that it's been three
Yeah.
years. Assuming it's been 3 years, that means that the Dominion War starts in like one of the later seasons, 5, 6, 7, something. It's five, I think, 5 or 6. The Dominion War actually starts. So, like,
January
only a
16th.
couple, like the last 5 years are like a couple of those years in the middle of Voyager is the Dominion War. So it happens pretty much in the middle of the Dominion War. Like middle Dominion War happens right in the middle of Voyager. So or somewhere in there. So while that's going on, Voyager's in the Delta Quadrant. And
Yeah,
so
so it was like the second half of season 3.
they left there, and Dominion War is I forget
Yeah,
what season it
because
starts.
Voyager's first episode was January 16th, 1995, and episode 12 of DS9 was the 9th, and the 13th was the 30th. So it happened in between the 12th and 13th episode, technically, as far as,
Yeah.
IRL chronology.
Yeah, and assuming they're kind of 1-to-1 on some things. Like Voyager might be more 1-to-1, and DS9 might be a little more bunched
Yeah.
up.
So the final episode of DS9 was in 1999. The final episode of Voyager was 2001. So it's
So yeah,
about, yeah.
so it's a couple of years. So yeah, it shifted in Voyager. The Dominion War happened entirely while Voyager was gone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so
So I guess I should ask since we're here. What's the Dominion War?
big nasty conflict. It's basically a good chunk of DS9.
It is basically the entire latter half of DS9, from the point where so somewhere around season 3 is when I think the Dominion play a part. Yeah, it looks like they start learning about the Dominion in season 3, but they don't actually meet them, I think, until season 4.
Okay, so
I think.
a brief primer on the Dominion War. Because it is part to this episode, because that's a big part of her backstory. That's part of why she's being so reckless. So Dominion War, sort of spoilers, but it's sort of a broad strokes.
It's 25 years ago. It's not a spoiler point.
Yeah, but just for viewers, but I'm going to stick to the broad strokes. So, part of DS9 is Federation takes partnership with the Bajorans, which are these people. They were being sort of held under sort of imperial.
They were under an occupation from the Cardassians, which are the lizard-necked aliens with the spoons on their forehead.
Yeah, the gray ones. The gray ones we saw today with the black hair with the spoons on their heads.
Yeah,
that's a Cardassian. Okay, so
they were taking. They took over for part of Next Gen, for like the latter half of Next Gen. They had conquered and dominated the Bajorans, which were these peace-loving,
it was like a 50-year occupation or something.
Oh yeah, it was. But I mean, we don't meet the Cardassians until halfway through Next Gen.
Yeah.
And we find out about the Bajorans and the fact that they're being holocausted basically by the Cardassians, who are all like, no, they need us to control them because they don't know what they're doing. You know, they can't take care of themselves.
Fascists / space Nazis to an extent.
Yeah,
how you exactly want to describe them? They're not a very nice group to deal with. So
Yeah.
essentially, what happened? So they go in, they they basically extract as much resources as is efficient, and then they leave. Well, they leave Bajor polluted and just struggling.
Ruined.
So
Well, they
so
were fighting, they fought them off, and they were pissed off because Starfleet wouldn't help them, because Starfleet doesn't get involved in conflicts unless it's within their own people. And so they offered to accept Bajor into the Federation.
well, that wasn't until
But
later. They
that was
basically
that
made
was
the first thing
during
they
the
did was they made a partnership because the Cardassians left DS9. They call it Terrak Nor, but they left DS9 while they were leaving everything else. They trashed it on the way out, and Federation partnered with the Bajorans to run DS9 because Starfleet had the resources and the want to have access to DS9 because that's a nice port to have.
Mhm.
And so they kind of came to an agreement. We'll help you administrate and run DS9. In exchange, we get to help run DS9. It's
Yeah,
still under Bajoran. It's Bajoran owned, but it's run by the Federation Bajoran sort of partnership. So
yeah. And in fact, the Bajorans got to designate a lot of the staff as far as the security and all that.
okay, so that's the big thing. So the first, like in the first episode or two, they discover a wormhole. There's aliens. There's all sorts of. There's wormhole aliens. There's a lot of stuff. But what you need to know is it's a wormhole from
To the Gamma
to the
Quadrant.
Gamma Quadrant. Okay, because
Sadly, not to the Delta Quadrant, or Voyager would have been a lot shorter.
anyway, but yeah. So you have the Alpha Quadrant, and
Which is where
it depends on what
Starfleet.
sources you use. It depends on whose map you use. Like Alpha and Beta are basically most of what we see in Alpha mostly, but Beta, depending on whose map you're using, that's most of what we see in the show. If you've heard of somebody in Star Trek, odds are, and it wasn't on Voyager, it's in the Alpha or Beta quadrants. And so basically, the wormhole opened a tube to the Gamma Quadrant. Well, the Gamma Quadrant, there's a major, long lived sort of place in the Gamma Quadrant. It's run
it,
by, it's the Dominion. It's called the
it
Dominion.
it's called the Dominion. It's basically a cartel of sorts that is secretly run by changelings, but their muscle are the Jem'Hadar, who are being controlled by an addiction, basically. They're bred to be addicted to
Ketracel
this
White.
Ketracel White, this chemical that keeps them strong and powerful, and without it they go psycho and kill each other. um
But yeah, they need it to survive. The changelings never really show. They're called founders by. They've got basically. They have two arms. They have the Vorta, which are basically their diplomats.
it's
What?
no, I'm sorry, I'm talking to somebody. Give me a second.
Okay. So I'll just keep explaining. So you have the Vorta. The Vorta are their diplomats, their spies, commanders. They're sort of the liaison between the changelings
They're the
themselves.
voice.
Yeah, they are with the Jem'Hadar to supply them. They regulate the white to make sure that the changelings are getting what they want out of the Jem'Hadar. They use the Vorta as their sort of controllers for the Jem'Hadar. The Jem'Hadar are still run by the Jem'Hadar because that they have all the fighting prowess. They do all the fighting, but the Vorta are there to administrate. They're bureaucrats, diplomats, anything you need brains and a lot of speaking. That's your Vorta. Anytime they need to squish somebody, that's a Jem'Hadar. And so,
and the Vorta are clones.
as well as the Jem'Hadar, they're also
Yes, but they're clones that are raised. The Borta are clones that are pretty much carbon copies of each other, just so that they could have Jeffrey Combs come back after being murdered over and over again.
Yeah, because at one point you just, one of them
He
gets
was
killed,
supposed to
and the
be
come
there
next
for just
episode or
like
something, or later that episode, they send over a
Wayun 2.
the next Wayun. It was a higher number than 2, but the
Yeah,
next
but
one,
no, I mean
yeah,
Wayun, the
Wayun
next
8 or
Wayun.
Wayun 9 or something
No,
like that.
I thought it was I thought it was 5. I thought they only went up to like 7 because
I don't remember.
the
It's
way
not
they
important.
the cloning station was destroyed, and so that was the last Wayun was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, that
But
happens too. But
yeah,
basically, they want to take over. They see, so the Federation is like, okay, we'll open up trade and diplomacy with them, and Dominion's like, oh, more worlds to conquer, and
yeah,
so they send. So basically, they through some various things happening, they attack the Alpha Quadrant. They make a pact with the Cardassians and basically kind of take over occupy the Cardassians.
yeah.
The
The
Cardassians kind of
Cardassians are
get
under occupation, but the Cardassians are like, no, 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 we're still in charge of our planet. It's like, dude, you got to do exactly what that stupid Vorta says. It's like, no, no, we run ourselves. And so they had this whole civil war thing going on while they were still trying to defeat the entire
Alpha
the
Quad.
rest of the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah,
And the changelings were trying to the changelings are shapeshifters. That's why they're called changelings,
I
because they
kind of
change
figured
shape.
with the name Changeling.
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's also changelings in mythology who are actually fairies who are replace a child at birth. But the changelings are shapeshifters who were abused to the point of being killed almost to extinction by monoforms.
Solids, as they call them.
Solids, yes, solids, monoforms, who who were disturbed by their ability to change shape, and so they hid out on this this isolated planet inside a nebula. And Odo, who is the chief of security, is one of these shapeshifters, and he is caught between worlds because it's like, these are my people, but these are my people. These are the people I am part of, because he was found. He was a foundling changeling. They found him, and he was raised by the Bajorans, and so he became chief of security because he was fair and rule oriented.
He was the one person that was kept on between the Cardassian occupation and the Federation partnership. And so, but yeah, so basically, the Dominion comes in. It's a real fucking mess. It's a bloodbath. It is, because the Dominion can just print more soldiers. Because
And their ships are fucking badass.
Yeah, they basically print soldiers as needed. That's why sometimes they target cloning facilities, because they can just clone another Jem'Hadar, because they mature very quickly and they're ready to fight not very long after being born. So like if one of them like lives to like 7 or 8, that's incredible.
That's old age.
That's incredibly. It's an incredibly senior Jem'Hadar, and so
they're basically Centaurans.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But with like, the white,
but
addiction.
Controlled by by frickin' Borda.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry,
but
God damn, can you imagine? Can you imagine if the Borg got control of the Dominion?
They can't, because they can't assimilate changelings.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, because changelings change shape,
They don't
and
have things to infect as
they
well.
don't they don't have the physiology.
Yeah,
They can be infected because they what was it?
yeah,
Section 32 created
31.
that
Yeah.
virus that 31 created that virus that killed. Sorry, it's that created that they infected Odo with, so that Odo infected the rest of the changelings.
oh,
So, in order to save his entire species, Bashir created a an antidote or whatever, a cure for it. But in order to transmit it, Odo had to return to the changeling homeworld and never to return.
Well, he could return if he wasn't banned from returning. He just that
No,
he had a lot to do
yeah,
to share the cure around. But yeah, that was one of their strategies to weaken it. I mean, technically speaking, the Borg wouldn't need the white because they control in other ways, but
mm-hmm.
you could imagine them assimilating the technology to produce Jim'Hadar and
Oh
then
yeah,
yeah.
producing Jim'Hadar and then assimilating Jim'Hadar as they're growing so that they
mm-hmm.
become quick build soldiers. Like they may not have the Jim'Hadar on at all times because Jim'Hadar, well, they're good soldiers. The Borg don't really need physical strength usually.
Yeah,
They do all their stuff through wits. But if they needed a large invasion force and they assimilated a Jim'Hadar cloning facility and knew how to use it, they could theoretically, if they needed to, produce a lot of really strong drones that are very tactically adept really quickly. But yeah, that would be about as much as they would take. The Vorta, they might. I don't know if they would really care about the Vorta as
yeah.
much.
But the thing with the Borg though is it's your technological and your uniqueness
Yeah.
that they assimilate. They aren't unique. They're all the same. So
Yeah.
they wouldn't have a reason to assimilate them. They would just destroy them because they stand in the way.
Yeah. They might assimilate a couple just to so they have some information, but once they got
It
the
would be
information that they're all the same, it's like you're not really going to get anything new by assimilating more of us. It's like, okay,
let's just destroy them all because they're a threat to the Borg.
yeah. And so, yeah, so the Borg could yeah, the only thing they might assimilate, just put the information back and just have it on hand, is maybe they would assimilate a Jum'Hadar cloning facility, have that information on hand, how to build it, how to do that, and then just sort of sock that away as something if they needed it. They usually don't, but I can imagine the Borg going, you know what, not a terrible idea to have this on hand if we needed it.
Also, the Borg quest all knowledge. They want to incorporate all information. So by assimilating that information, it's within the hive mind and it is stored within that, cloud, so to speak.
Yeah. But that's the Dominion War. Big bloody war with a power from the Gamma Quadrant. Eventually the 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 Alpha Quadrant alliance beats them back, but it's a lot of death. There is a lot of death. It's probably it's easy to understand if she was involved in the Dominion War why Mariner would be so.
Like
She
there
would.
was no honor.
It was.
Yeah,
It.
it was traumatizing
Yeah.
seeing so many people die. And I mean, Nog went through a similar thing in DS9 where he had a bit of survivor guilt and went on this kind of not quite suicide, but he was doing all the, doing everything he could that was dangerous because he was survivor guilt. And so did Balana. after finding out about the Maquis being wiped out.
Yeah, but
Hey, for a planet with no rules, they sure had a lot of rules.
Yeah, you find that chaos has a lot of conditions.
Especially if you're Starfleet.
which that was
That was
I
really clever of her, though.
yeah. I'm gonna absolutely, klutz my way into this while I have this other, just be obvious, be exactly what they expect of Starfleet, and
Yeah,
then
and
while
just
they're all
told.
distracted by me, I have this guy go in as I have my engineer go in as a bounty hunter, and get the information we need anyway.
Yep. And it's like
It's like, I know you're a puppet.
you know that character kind of reminds me of a character from original series.
And
But
hey, we found out where all the aliens were sent to.
yep.
Oh,
Which
But why is Locorno like taking all those ships? I mean, I get why he's sending them all to the planet because that's kind of the plot of the Five Doctors, actually. Uh, it's like, hey, let's scoop up all these beings and make them fight. Uh, that was kind of the premise of the Five Doctors, the 20th anniversary
I don't know. Maybe
of
I'm
Doctor
thinking he's stealing all those ships to make it even more powerful ship to defeat like some big bad that's coming or something.
or he's
Possibly.
working for somebody.
That too.
Maybe he's working for Section 31.
Yeah,
Maybe.
there's no telling who he could be working for, or he could just be on his own and just this is amusing to him.
He's a collector.
Yeah,
He has a
that doesn't.
he has a TCE and is shrinking them all down to make them into toys.
Yeah, the thing is, this doesn't feel like something Karna would do. Like he would have some like animosity towards Starfleet. I can understand him wanting that powerful of a ship. He's a pilot. He's a piloting specialist. Like I can understand him wanting a really cool ship. It's like we'll give you this really cool ship,
Yeah,
but
but
you have
I
to do
don't
this
know
for
why
it.
he'd collect. Yeah,
That's what I was going for. Was yeah, like I can understand him wanting the ship, but like all the stuff that he's doing is incidental. It's something he's doing in order to have the ship, and like that ship is being provided by somebody who wants this, whatever's going on here, whatever's being done here, like they want this happening. We don't know who wants all this happening, wants all these species at each other's throats,
the
but who
changelings are back.
honestly possible.
I mean, considering the layup they gave you with her being like, "Oh my God, the freaking Dominion War," and it's it just ruined my brain, PTSD. Oh no, the Dominions are back.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But yeah,
Okay. So I know the show is supposed to be like science, even if it's science fiction, right?
Yeah.
How the hell do you get glass rain?
Actually, on Uranus, I believe it is, or Neptune, it rains diamonds.
Diamonds make sense. Glass
Yeah, but
does not.
no, because glass is, you can get glass from lightning. And all those lightning storms kicks a bunch of glass up into the air, and it rains down the same way it rains diamonds on Uranus or Neptune or whatever it was.
I can see that. But goddamn, ouch. Hey, sorry, I can't come into work today. It's raining glass.
You better get your glass into work or you're fired.
Everybody's carrying these giant, solid steel umbrellas. Chat, clink, 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 clink.
They go to shake. You know how you go to shake off your umbrella? I don't use umbrellas, but like you always see them like shake their umbrella. They do that, and it's like a bunch of shards just fall to the ground.
Let's see.
She does make a good leader, despite her protestations to the contrary.
Oh yeah,
Which I feel that.
I do.
Well, yeah,
What?
I think it's less that she didn't. It's not that she didn't think she's a good leader. She was just afraid
No,
of all the things that
she doesn't want to be. I'm not saying she's like
she doesn't want
doesn't
the
think she
rank.
is.
She doesn't want to go through the rank, like we said before. She really wants to just go from being either at the bottom doing whatever the hell she wants, or being at the top and doing whatever the hell she wants. The
I
middle
don't
stage.
know if she wants to be at the top anymore because she saw what happened with her friend and she's like, I really don't want to be a captain and make those decisions and have my friends' lives in my hands every time I make a choice,
Mhm.
because that's basically what she said to the Klingon. It's like, I don't want to have to be making those choices and watching my friends die because of something I chose, something I decided. I don't want to have to decide who lives and dies.
Mm. But
Which I get that.
yeah, it's
Like, we continue our fight now. No, we hug. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Get off of me. I'm hugging you. No, wait, I am a warrior. I do not hug. Get off of me. No, I am hugging you and you are going to accept it. No, stop. Stop
Although
hugging. Stop
it
hugging
was
me.
kind of sweet how he was like, Mariner would not betray us. You just met her
Yeah.
like 5 months ago.
No, it was a while because that was
I
a
know,
long
I
ass
know, I
story.
know.
But
but
I know. I like Klingons. Like they
I
do have
love them.
honor.
They
some
do.
of them do. It depends.
Yeah,
I
his
mean,
friends on the
Some of
ship,
them are.
not so much.
Tach.
Yeah, but most Klingons you could trust not to stab you in the back when you walk away.
Mm,
I mean, it would be not that
You need to
honorable.
know what house they're from first.
never
'Cause,
turn your back to an enemy.
yeah.
True.
And especially if their name is Duras.
Oh God.
If they're the
Or
House of
of the
Duras,
House of Duras.
F them.
And those fucking slut sisters. I mean, what?
They are quite dishonorable.
But I do have to say the Kardashians do look like if the real life Kardashians with too much plastic surgery.
They already have too much plastic surgery.
Yeah, that's
But I love the idea of keeping up with the Kardashians. And it's
oh,
just a soap opera of the freaking Black Order.
oh God.
Well, yeah, the
Which
Obsidian.
is
You mean the
like
Obsidian
the
Order?
Obsidian Order.
Yeah.
That's it. The
Well, no,
Obsidian Order.
I half surprised thinking back on it that we didn't have that show up as part of the Ferengi TV
Shows.
shows, like keeping up
That
with the
would have been
Cardassians.
freaking hilarious. But they
It's
were
an
all
obvious
Ferengi.
joke,
They
but
were all Ferengi shows, though.
yeah,
So
that was their
they
yeah.
would
They
have
went with that, but like you know,
it would have been hilarious having a show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it's like an Obsidian Order Burn Notice style soap opera or something, like a cross between Burn Notice and like a
a
uh
family
one of,
sitcom.
no, like one of those reality show type things.
But yeah, it just it's a really obvious joke, and I'm
It
sure
is, but it's
they
still
thought it was.
fun.
They're like, okay, well, no, let's stick with Ferengis and do that, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll at some point they'll go to Cardassia for some reason, and the or Cardassian settlement, and they'll get to watch Keeping Up with the Cardassians, or it'll be in the background or something.
Oh, hey, I don't know if it's the one I'm thinking of, but Riker was mentioned in the episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it the Riker I'm thinking of, like the main?
No, there's
No,
two
right?
Rikers.
Yeah.
The same thing. Okay, remember the same thing happened to the same thing. Basically, the same thing happened to Riker as happened to Boimler,
Okay.
but
And it was in an episode with Riker. But there's Will Riker, William Thomas Riker, and then there's Tom Riker, who
Okay.
is technically he's the original, but
he was left
there
on a
was
planet for years. I think.
there was a refractive occurrence. You know how when you look in a mirror sometimes you see a double reflection? Or
Yeah.
you look into a window and you see your reflection plus you see what's outside. That's what happened with the transporter. So when they transported him back, they beamed him back and he ended up beamed onto the ship. But because of atmospheric distortion, he also was reflected back. So a copy of him was beamed to the ship and lived out his life as Lieutenant William T. Riker and became Commander William T. Riker of the Enterprise. But when they went back to that ship, it turned out
planet.
that planet, it turned out he was still, there was a copy of him still there, which that copy was technically the original because he hadn't actually teleported. And teleportation is basically a copy.
But
an identical copy.
But since he wasn't, it would get confusing if they kept calling him, Will Riker.
Yeah.
They took on the name Thomas.
Yeah, so he took on the name Thomas Riker because Will Riker had his own life, had his own identity, and he went up through the ranks. And for the past 15 years or whatever it was, he was William T. Riker. And because the other Riker was... Huh?
I'm just going to guess the planet he got stuck on didn't really have a way for him to contact Starfleet. Nope. Like, hey, I'm still here.
It was due to the atmospheric storms and all of that blocked him from getting teleported out. It blocked communications. And I forget what it was exactly, but they needed to go down to that planet for something because they couldn't actually access the information from this ship. And that's where they found Thomas Riker.
Like, hey, remember me? Like, oh.
And he was like gone feral and shit. And it's like.
And it was a big thing. It was a whole episode about it. And he had some problems. It was like, well, you've lived William Riker, the Riker we know, had lived a normal life like nothing happened. Well, he's like, I was stuck on a planet for however long, and you went ahead and lived my life, and now I'm stuck back here. And he actually, since he's an identical copy, the same thing, like all the biometrics match because he's literally him. Like, he is an identical copy of him. Just they had a divergence, however long it was ago.
And there was a
DS9
I believe
episode.
There was I think there was a discrepancy about with him because of the atmosphere he spent his time in. So there was a variation, but it was negligible, and it's like
yeah,
basically they're identical, but except for the different environments.
yeah, the different experiences they had, but they were basically copied from the same. They were the same guy essentially on for
They
like
were
ninety
literally
nine
cut
point
from
nine
the
nine
same
percent of him is exactly the same, and that's why in DS9 he steals a ship by pretending to be Will Riker, and then I think he doesn't he go to a I forget if he I forget how that one ends. Whether he I know like I think he ends up in a Cardassian prison or something from that. Like they get
I
everybody else
think
gets away.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
was
he
he
goes
was
to
on a he was in a Cardassian prison camp where Bashir and the wasn't it Garrick got captured? Wait, not a Cardassian prison.
that was the only ones
That
they
was
had was the Dominion prison.
that was the Dominion prison, I thought.
But I don't remember what happened to him after that. But I know he was like the Cardassians let everybody go except they wanted the Maquis to go to a Federation court, and but they demanded Riker to pay by the Federation wouldn't let them execute Riker, the Thomas Riker. So they were like, okay, you can have him if you give him a non-death sentence. If you do that, we'll let you have Thomas Riker as our, and that'll satisfy your need to punish this. He gets the blame. We'll take care of the Maquis. They'll get a Federation trial. You may not like how not severe we are with our prisons, but they'll be taken care of, and everything else will go back to the way it was. It was a big mess, but yeah, like I thought he would be in a prison. Maybe I forgot an episode where he got out.
I don't remember,
Yeah, I'd have to look up on Wiki or
but
something. But
but I
yeah,
know that I think it was the same planet even
hmm?
that Boimler got duplicated on.
I don't remember. It could have been. I don't remember. But yeah,
Or it was an incident with with Thomas Riker or something like that.
well,
Because
Will Riker was there because he was on the Titan when it happened. Because
oh, okay,
Boimler was assigned to the Titan when it happened, and he went down. And he did that, and he got everybody out, but he ended up getting
duplicated.
duplicated, just like uh, like Riker did, and so he split, and so
And so the main Boimler went back to
yeah, the Boimler we
the
know got sent back to the Cerritos, and he kept the copy over on the Titan, and then he died, and then
well, he faked his death.
yeah, died. I can't see air quotes
Yeah,
with audio, but he died, quote unquote, and went to be part of Section 31.
yeah.
Which will be very interesting if Boimler ever makes it to like captain. Like and like if the duplicate Boimler, like if he survives for a long time, he doesn't killed off in some way or other, but by his own hubris or something, you know, like if he doesn't do that, like if Boimler ever becomes like a captain or something, like they'll have an extra one of him, like can impersonate him, and that would. But that's probably something that will never come up because we're not going to get that long of a series with Boimler. I would imagine they'll probably get about 7 seasons, and that'll be about it. That's
Yeah,
typical. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll go longer. They haven't had as many episodes. It's only been like 10 episodes a season or something, so maybe it goes
true.
longer. And it's animated, so you don't have to necessarily worry about the actors
Actors aging.
aging out of the
Like,
role because all they have to do is sit and talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, usually they stand because
Well,
it's easier to project.
well, yeah, they don't have to, but yeah, they don't have to do anything super physical like stunts or anything because that's what the animators do. They just
Yep.
they just have to. Like, it's not. I'm not decrying the voice acting work. No, that's silly. They do a lot of good acting, and
It's
it's a skill.
actually harder to it's even harder to voice act than to like play off of somebody, because when you can see the other people and you can like see, if not, if just a green screen, you still can play off of each other, and you have that physicality to it, and certain physicalities cause certain sounds within your vocal, quality. Like you can tell the difference between going ugh and going oof, like, actually physically moving versus making the sound like you were moving.
Yeah, but they don't have to worry about, they don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about stunts and
Yeah.
fighting and running and doing any of that.
Although, I mean, in the giggle, frickin' David Tennant is like 50s, and he's doing like backflips and shit. So,
But yeah.
granted, it was on that, but still, dude.
Anyway, do you have anything else?
Let me think. Let me think.
Don't strain yourself now.
Ah! Now I got nothing. Glass rain. Ow.
Okay. Well, if we don't have anything more, we'll see what happens in the finale. To be
Wait, finale?
continued. Yeah, of the season. Because
Okay.
there's 10 episodes in a season, and
Yeah.
next week's 10.
Damn,
Which is
not
sad
true.
because I prefer 11 and 12.
And we'll see you next week, hopefully.